Welcome again on this Monday to another edition of Ventriloquism Weekly. This week we are in Long Island for Southern Belle edition of Ventriloquism Weekly. Ventriloquism BFFs, as they call themselves, Lori, Bruner and Trish Dunn. Yes, so welcome ladies. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to get started. We will go alphabetically by the last name and I always start by asking, how did you get started in ventriloquism? Lori?
Well, I was about 8 years old and I saw a ventriloquist at church, and that's what got me interested in ventriloquism. So I went home and I told my mom about it, and I decided I was going to ask Santa Claus to bring me a dummy for Christmas.
Yes.
And sure enough, Santa Claus didn't let me down, and he brought me a Danny O'Day doll.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've heard a lot of other ventriloquists talk about how they got the Danny O'Day doll and started out with that, and they had a record and all of this. I don't remember having any record. I just remember having my dummy, and I just started practicing, and it just started coming pretty naturally to me. It wasn't long before I started performing at church and school and that sort of thing. When I was 12 years old, I interviewed for a TV show, and they told me, you're good enough, but you've got to have a professional dummy. So, back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't know how to get in touch with one, but the TV show, they knew how to put us in touch with Mayor Ventriloquist Studios.
Cool.
And this was back in I guess if I say the year, I'm going to say my age. Oh, well. Okay.
We're ventriloquists. We don't do math, so it's fine.
So back in 1972, we ordered my dummy, Randy, as I call him, and he was made by Clinton Detweiler, and I have had him ever since. I began performing quite a bit as a teenager, and after I had my first child, I decided to put the dummy down for a while. I had other things to focus on in my life. So I did that. I would get him out occasionally to do either a charity event or maybe a friend's children's birthday party or something like that. Then several years ago, maybe about 8 years ago or so, well, I'm a banker by day, so about 8 years ago I told them, I said, I have got a dummy. They were interested in going into the schools and talking to the children about banking and about the importance of saving money. And I said, why don't I put together a little skit with my dummy and go into the schools?
Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, I've kind of become the company ventriloquist.
Awesome.
Which is very different from what most of ventriloquists do. Some people kind of do it on the side, or they do it as their full-time job. They're making money at it. I'm employed by a bank, so I've often thought, man, I could be out there on my own as a ventriloquist doing show after show, whatever, but really I have the best of both worlds because I have a steady income, I have benefits, and I get paid for doing what I love to do.
That's fantastic. That's what we can all hope for. And I want to turn now for just a moment to Trish. How did you get started in this wonderful, wacky art form?
Well, when I was young, just like Lori, I had the little Simon Says dummy. My parents were cheaper, I think. They got it out of the Sears catalog. But and it's the same thing. Loved it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go and get in performing. But my parents, being the Southern conservative, everything is practical, that was out of the question. I was steered between being a lawyer or an accountant, so I became an accountant. But I always would work with a puppet, do it ventriloquially, constantly in church. And after the first marriage ended, I thought, now or never. Ordered a Kim Pointer figure, ordered an Alfaro figure, then I just started doing it. I saw an ad in the paper for going to Comedy Zone's comedy school, and I thought, I want to do it adult, I want to do it like that. I took the Comedy Zone. I was the only person that showed up with a ventriloquist figure to learn how to do comedy. Threw them all for a loop because it's a little bit of a different dynamic. But it was a success. And after that, I got a hosting position with Comedy Zone, and from there, then just did comedy zones and country clubs and private comedy theaters and things like that.
Is it your full-time job, or?
It is not my full-time job because I have a child who is a sophomore in school, so I'm looking towards college, and I have a current college student, and you cannot, maybe you can, but I can't give up the security of a full-time job, but I have at least 2 or 3 gigs a month that I get paid for that supplement my life. So.
That's great. So where does the love come from? We speak about this love, and I hear it time and again. Why? Why do you ladies love this art form?
Well, anybody who knows me knows that I love to laugh. Is that an understatement?
Yes.
So, not only do I like to laugh, I like to make other people laugh too. So, when somebody's laughing, it gets their mind off their problems and just makes things lighthearted and fun.
I'm a little bit different perspective. I think I'm a bent person. I think I look at an animal or a stuffed thing. I can look at anything and decide what kind of personality and life it has. And I've done it my entire life. When my children were little, the dogs talked, the couch would talk, the food would talk, everything would talk, and it embarrassed them as they got older. But that's what I do, and that's why I love doing it, because I can take that weird little spot in my mind and turn it into an act, and other people actually enjoy it, and they laugh, and they get pleasure out of it. So that's awesome to me.
That's great. You both, it's so great to speak with people from different parts of the country. And you're from North Carolina?
I'm from North Carolina.
And
I live in Kentucky.
Kentucky, yes. How do you find audiences react? The South is, I guess, stereotyped to be a bit more conservative. How do you find audiences reacting to your material down there? And what kinds of things do you do to make sure it stays within whatever those cultural things might be? That I'm just vaguely putting it out there. But.
I'll answer that because, like I said, I ordered a Alfaro figure.
Yeah.
What made me think in Southern Yeehaw, North Carolina, I could order a Rasta figure with the dreadlocks and actually be accepted? I don't know. I think it was blonde thinking. But on the other hand, I can dress him up like a pirate, and in that kind of setting, he's accepted down south. Oddly enough, I'm a 4'11", blonde-haired white chick. I can get away with more than, say, a man can. But my most success for crossing that line is when I perform up north, like in Maryland, which is about as far north as I've done. I'm really accepted there. And I get the most response if I play up being a kind of dumb blonde Southern Belle. I can cross any kind of cultural line that some people might think is a little bit not politically correct. I can be the dingy blonde, and it doesn't matter if I'm not politically correct. It's okay.
That's cool. That's really cool. Your character as well as that of the figure.
Yeah.
Lori, in the schools, anything to be aware of politically, like lines not to cross down south?
I can't think of anything. My show with the kids in the school is really tailored more for banking and, teaching the kids the importance of saving money, all having fun. We're all having fun, but we're learning something at the same time. So that audience, I mean, I don't have any problems whatsoever.
Can you talk a little bit more about your company that you work for accepting this side of you and saying, no, we're not going to just do a conventional program. We're going to use this person with unique talent. Where did that come from?
Well, I started doing it. I worked at our branch in Lexington, Kentucky, and started going out to the schools, and they really enjoyed it. And the bank realized, well, I would have teachers calling the bank saying, I don't remember her name, but I want to talk to the ventriloquist. So they knew that I was making an impact out there. And furthermore, when the kids start coming into the bank and opening up savings accounts and they're asking to see Randy, you're getting your message across. So we have branches in several counties in Kentucky, and I go to many of our counties, and I do mostly elementary schools, but I've done middle school and I've done high school. Just got through doing like a 6-week program at high school, actually. So
now, do you book them direct, or does the company come to you and say, hey, our branch in this county would like you to go to this school, or do you make contact with the school yourself?
I've done it both ways. Yeah, sometimes I'll contact the school and I'll say, we've got this program. Do you want us to come back? I mean, I've been doing this long enough where a lot of times they just know that certain time of year they want me to come, and I go back to the same schools and same classes year after year. And then it's funny because, some kids, they've seen me from the time they're in kindergarten, and maybe they're in 4th grade now. I mean, they know the songs that Randy sings, they know the jokes that Randy tells, which is really kind of cool,
That's really neat.
because they're catching on, but on the other hand, sometimes I have to switch it up a bit so that they get some new stuff. So I do that. And then I have recently brought on a new character.
Oh, cool.
Ernest, my Hearts figure, who I have named Professor Ernest Lee Smart, PhD.
Oh,
I love
that's
it.
cute.
And I've brought him out in the elementary schools once so far. The kids liked him, but I saved Randy for last, and when I brought Randy out, I mean, they're familiar with Randy. They just went crazy, wild over him, But Ernest is good. I think he's a little bit more effective in high school. And then, of course, if I do outside shows, outside of school, I'll do Ernest for different things.
That's great. Trish, you work the comedy club circuit. Do you keep it clean, or do you work very adult?
I'm normally a clean comic. I myself, I'm never going to cuss or do something blue. Now, I do have some gigs that pay quite well, and they want me to be raw, and they want me to be very rude, and they want me to throw some F words and things like that. That's not my normal nature, but if you're going to pay me to do it, and that's what you want, you're the client, you're the customer, I'm going to do it. So I do it. But it's never me, it's the figure that decides to be blue. And that's okay. But that's not, I only do that if the people specifically ask. And there are situations where it's an earlier show and they want you to be more family friendly, and then a nighttime show they expect people to be drinking a lot and they want you to be more raw. And that's okay. I don't have a problem doing that. It's just not a natural part of the way I perform.
It's definitely the clientele and tailoring it to the client so that you don't have to turn down the job.
Right.
That's great.
Exactly.
So now we are here in Long Island, on Long Island, for our friend Vinnie Yort's show tonight. So just to give our listeners some context, but you two are friends outside of meeting up for these different things. You were, as we said in the intro, ventriloquist BFFs.
Yes, we are.
How did you come to become sisters in double talking?
We started hanging out at the convention. We were trying to figure this out the other day.
Yeah, we were talking about this just last night.
Yeah, it might have been like 2011
when
we started hanging out, like, joined at the hip type thing.
We were friends. We were friends
We
on
were friends on
Facebook.
Facebook.
And then we met in person at the ventriloquist convention, and we
just clicked.
Yeah, we're sisters from different mothers and different states. And we just, and we're such good friends that we meet up for any and every ventriloquist thing that we can easily go to from Kentucky and North Carolina.
A couple of years ago when Jay Johnson was doing his show in Wilmington, North Carolina,
Yes.
we found out about that, and of course Trish lives in North Carolina, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's in North Carolina. How about if I come down there and we'll make it a girls' weekend? So that's what we did. We
Yeah.
went.
Awesome time.
Oh yeah, we had a blast. Of course, anytime we're together, we have a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's see, last year
The double.
you came. Yeah,
We came up to.
Double Talk.
Yeah.
She came to Kentucky and
Yes.
stayed with me, and we drove up to see Ron Lucas at Double Talk. And then we went to Boston for the Ventriloquist Central Birthday Bash in October. And so we have had many opportunities to hang out,
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
now we're in Long Island.
Yeah, and we are. We're truly ventriloquist
Yeah,
BFFs.
we are.
We
That's
really
good.
are.
Do you write together? Do you work together? Or are the things that you do so separate that's not a part of your dynamic?
We have talked about it, but we really do have different audiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
We talk more, I think, technique maybe if we were to discuss anything with each other and just a little bit of that. And
Yeah.
more than like comedy writing or.
and we
you
talk
know.
a little bit more on the business side of things
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, definitely business side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, what do you want to accomplish for each the next step for your careers specifically? So we'll start. You answered the first one that was specific, so we'll start with Lori for this one.
Well, the ventriloquist convention has really helped me get focused on what I want to do as a ventriloquist. So, I have started getting my website together, although I still owe Steve Hurst some information, so it's not completely up and running yet. But I'm still working on that. But, just working on getting everything in line and writing more material so that I can get out there more, and marketing myself a little bit more so that I can have more outside of school gigs.
Great. And Trish, what's the next step for you?
The next step for me is I'm very clear. I've started doing a bit of public speaking, motivational speaking, as well as the ventriloquism. I have a heart for both of those. Love both of those. Like I said before, a senior in college and one it's a sophomore. My goal is to continue to work and keep myself fresh in the ventriloquist world, working until the youngest one obviously is off to college, becoming an adult man, and then at that point, then I want to full time perform ventriloquially, and then of course with the public speaking, and that will be my life at that point, because then I'm just worried about myself and not the two boys.
Great answers, ladies, and we want to apologize to our listeners for that. Lori was throwing her voice to her cell phone and making it great.
Pretty amazing.
I
can make it sound just like a cell phone.
Yes.
Super talented.
So, let's end with the question I always like to end on, which is, what's next? What do you want to see? And you can answer this jointly. What do you want to see from the ventriloquism community? The generation coming up, performers you know of now. What do you want to see in this art form?
I want it to keep growing and keep touching children's lives and making things easier and complete. It truly is an art form that takes talent and focus. And with all of your technology games that you play that are so realistic, I think that it's awesome that young people now, because of Jeff Dunham and Terry Fader, can see something that you don't have to have an Xbox or a PlayStation to work at, master the talent, and have an outlet for an art form. If you're not inclined to be a dancer or a something else. And I like that. And I just want that to continue to grow and touch children like that.
I want to see the art form grow. I would like to see the fear of dummies go away.
Yeah.
Because so many children and even adults are afraid of, they call them puppets or whatever. They don't know what to call our ventriloquist figures. Even I have a hard time saying it sometimes. I can say it without moving my lips.
There you go.
But yeah, I think there are too many people who are afraid of our figures.
Yes. It's a good point. It's a
So,
very good point.
I want people to know that it doesn't have to be a scary thing. It can be a very fun thing.
It doesn't.
And I'd love to see more people get involved in it. And I think the convention has done a great job in promoting that. And I think they've also done a good job in and touching a lot of the different areas that we as ventriloquists have to deal with. And I'm really looking forward to this year with the comedy writing. So,
Great.
yeah.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming on the program today. It was lovely talking to you. These are great ladies. This energy you feel here listening to the program, it's 10 times more so in person. They're just lovely people. Thank you so much, Lori Bruner and Trish Dunn.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you again to Lori and Trish for coming on the program, and Vinny's show, which we were all on Long Island to see, was fantastic. It was great to get to talk to them in person, and again, Vinny Ewart's show benefited Wounded Warrior Project, and we will have a report on that very, very soon in the coming weeks. And I am very excited about next week. Andrew Reddy from Australia will be with us. It was a genuine pleasure to be able to talk to someone from down under. What you get to hear next week is one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had on this program, and considering the level of discussion on here, that is saying something. That's it for us this week. Find us in all the usual places, Facebook, Podomatic, at all. You know where to find us. You've been there before, so go ahead and check us out. Signing off for Ventriloquism Weekly, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding all you vents out there to keep talking for two.